Hi, okay, tonight we're going to learn about parallel structure. To understand parallel structure, you have to kind of understand some of the parts of speech just right off the bat. A subject is the person doing the action in the sentence. The verb is the action going on in the sentence. There are different forms of verbs. You want to pay attention, start noticing they're ing verbs like going, doing, being, or ed verbs like they all end in ed like um, worked, bought, played. You have to start noticing some of those parts of speech in order to understand parallel structure. So if you remember, anaphora had us repeating a couple of words at the beginning of sentences. In parallel structure, it is a little bit repetitive, but they're not the exact same words, and it's usually towards the end of the sentence. The author repeats the same grammatical structure throughout the sentence. So if the author has a list of 3 things that they're working with, they begin each of those lists with the same ing verb or the same ed verb, the same grammatical structure. If he starts out with a subject and then goes to a verb, he'll do that in the next clause as well, or in the next item in his list. So authors use parallel structure to help complex ideas become more simple and to create, in effect, like longer, more complex sentences. Let's look at an AP question that goes over parallel structure. There were times when her notes, sifting through her floor and my ceiling, bouncing down the walls and ricocheting off the building in the rear, whistled like tenpenny nails, buzzed like a saw, wheezed like the asthma of Hercules, trumpeted like an enraged African elephant, and the squeaky pedal of her piano rested plumb center above my typing chair. And then the question reads, in the sentence beginning, there were times, lines 58 through 63, the speaker employs all of the following except A, concrete diction, B, parallel syntax, C, simile, D, understatement, E, onomatopoeia. Okay, so the answer to that one is, I'm tricking you a little bit tonight. The answer is actually understatement. But you can tell one of the answers you can rule out is parallel structure because that sentence contains several or 2 different areas of parallel structure. The first half is when there are several clauses that start with an ing verb, sifting through her floor, bouncing down the walls, ricocheting off the building. So that's a list, 3 different things. They all have ing verbs and then an object after the verb. So they're grammatically parallel in structure. The second half of the sentence has begins with several ed verbs. Whistled like tenpenny, buzzed like a saw, wheezed like the asthma, trumpeted like an enraged African elephant. So the second half contains parallel structure as well. So you can definitely rule out parallel structure as one of the answers because it definitely contains parallel structure. We'll learn about those other terms a little bit later to help you answer that question. But one thing I wanted you to notice about it is that several of these AP questions have that word except, and you have to watch for those and make sure you kind of turn your brain on to what they're looking for with those except questions. Let's look at another one. This passage says, her recorded history began in the 3rd millennium BC. Her bronzes were as old as the pyramids. Her classical age was contemporary with that of Greece. Her Confucian canon of ethics predated the Old Testament, if not the New.
Here's your question.
The lines contain which of the following? A, elaborate metaphor, B, parallel syntax, C, a single periodic sentence, D, a compound subject, or E, subordinate clauses.
The answer was B.
Yep, parallel structure. So in that sentence, it almost sounds like anaphora because it begins each clause with her. So it could actually be termed anaphora, but the grammatical structure is the same as well, so we're calling it parallel structure. Her bronzes were as old, her classical age was contemporary, her Confucian canon predated the New Testament, if not old. So each of those is grammatically similar. They both have her and a noun and a little clause after that. So they're all matching everything in that list, and so that is parallel structure. So yeah, just remember that parallel structure means a similarity in grammar style within a sentence, and usually it's within a list of a sentence that those things are the same. Do you want to say anything?
Mm-mm.
Why not? Smile and say goodnight.
Okay.